morning, and thank you for tuning into the Andrew Tate Show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be covering FSU possibly buying TV rights, the Pac-12 commissioner parting ways, an Oklahoma judge who resigns after sending text messages, and make sure you stick around for later in the show when we'll be diving into the oddities of the day. Before we start, I'd like to ask that you guys like and follow the show. We get a number of questions from the viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. The tips and donation link is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also just really helps the show. Hello, Tate. How are you?
Hello, Faith. Okay, I'm chopping at the bit to tell a quick story.
Okay.
We're running late because Faith has been making me laugh so hard over here that we are late with our show.
Sometimes we just chit chat in the morning before the show, so it's okay.
This is where the blooper reel would come into play. Not necessarily the outtakes, not necessarily bloopers, but man, Faith had me rolling over here today. So,
how was your day yesterday?
Boring. My day was good, but boring. We were talking about this before the show. I work a lot of hours, so I was here until about 9 o'clock last night. But it sounds really bad when you say you work from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. But when I live 100 yards from the ocean, so whenever it's like, okay, I'm in this office too long, I just take a trip down to the ocean and hang out at the beach for a few minutes and then come back. So it's not as torturous.
Yeah, it's like a nice little reset.
You still got me smiling, Faith, over here. You still got me laughing. All right. What about you? Anything exciting?
I had a lovely evening with my parents. My parents were in town.
Oh, that's right.
Me. I had a lovely evening. Me, my boyfriend, and my parents went out to dinner. And then we went back to their hotel and caught up with them with a little bit. My dad and my boyfriend went in. My dad's like a big cigar fanatic. He loves cigars, and so him and my boyfriend went out and smoked a cigar together, and me and my mom got a drink and sat and talked for about an hour and a half. It was lovely. I haven't seen my parents since Christmas, so it was great to catch up.
See, I'm picturing Daddy Faith on the porch with a big old stogie with his feet up, just relaxing. That's what I'm picturing here.
That's about it, yeah.
I'm gonna call him Daddy Faith.
Daddy Faith.
Okay, I live vicariously through you sometimes. Talk to me. Sometimes I miss that American food. What did you order? Where did you go? Anything exciting?
So we went to a local restaurant where I live. It's like a staple, and they don't take reservations, so you have to get there really early to get in. And I had never gone before, and I was like, I have to eat at this restaurant before I move somewhere else. So we went, and I got this chicken, but I can't remember what it was stuffed with, but it had this praline caramel glaze on top of it, and then it came with a side of grits and green beans, and it was so good.
Whoa. Came with a side of what and green beans?
Grits.
Okay, I thought I heard grits.
Grits. It was very, very good. And then I had I think it was a mocha toffee cheesecake for dessert, and it was really really rich.
Such an American lunch.
Really good. And as always, I love a good espresso martini, and so I got an espresso martini with my dessert, and it was delicious.
That whole thing sounds so American. It is not even funny. Just to hear it just cracks me up, which is awesome.
And
well, no, it's just the praline, whatever you had.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Have I ever told you about the restaurants here? The restaurants are so amazing, but most of them are more family-oriented, mom and pop restaurants. They don't do a lot. You don't get chain restaurants here. But it's a weird concept. when you go to a restaurant, everyone eats slow. Everyone takes their time. So when you go,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like America where the waiter's trying to turn the table. You
Yeah.
get your food, get in, get out. No. When you sit down at a table at most restaurants here in Portugal and in Spain, that's your restaurant for the night. I mean, that's your table for the night.
Yeah.
The craziest thing of all is sometimes you'll be at a restaurant, and this has actually happened, where you're sitting there with friends 2, 3, 4 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and then you look up and you look, and it's like, oh, the staff is gone. They've left. They've left for the day. Your
Yeah.
job is to, when you're done, go to the thing, drop your money off at the register, maybe turn the lights up and close the doors up. They will leave you at the restaurant.
Well, I mean, in Europe, tipping is not really a thing because they actually pay their wait staff a reasonable wage. So, of course,
I'm
they're
that
not
silly
trying to
American that still
turn
tips. I do
tables.
tip. I do tip. I don't tip that much when if it's just my wife and I'll leave a tip.
Hmm.
But if I'm with any British people, it's like either I'll sneak the tip on the table or I'm not. The Brits get so upset with you. Like, why are you leaving a tip? It makes it bad for all of us.
Because I'm American, that's why.
I feel guilty. And then I know we're getting sidetracked here, so we're going to do the longer segment. But when I first moved here, my worst tipping horror story is I had hurt my back a little bit. I had a twitch in my back, so I went to this massage place, and
Hmm.
the lady gave me a nice massage and loosened up my back. And I was new, so I was still used to the American money.
Hmm.
And so I went to go give her a tip, and I think the massage was like 40, 50 euro.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, I'll give her a nice tip. So the tens, they look a little different. So I pulled out like three tens to give it to her. And she's like, oh no, no, no. And I'm like, no, 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 thank you, thank you. And then I got to my car and I pulled off and I looked at my wallet. I wasn't paying attention to what I grabbed. So I gave her, I think it was like a 20 and 250s as a tip.
Well,
The
I'm sure
world's
she
most
was
expensive
happy
massage.
that day.
And there was no happy ending. I'm gonna tell you that right now. There was only sadness for me for leaving a $120 tip.
She was happy. I'm sure that's all that mattered.
So didn't mean no harm on that happy ending, just saying it kind of played along. All right, let's
Okay.
dive into this because I know we're running long over here.
So, could Florida State buy the TV rights for FSU football from the ACC? Buried in 40 plus pages of legalese the ACC made in a court filing Friday was a potential solution to the conference's weeks long legal back and forth with Florida State. The Seminoles could buy back their TV rights from the conference. The ACC contends that it owns those rights through 2036. That's because FSU signed a document called a Grant of Rights in 2016. FSU granted the rights to broadcast its home games to the ACC through 2036. The ACC sold them to ESPN, excuse me, and distributed the money back to Florida State and its peers. Whether that deal is enforceable could ultimately be decided by a judge in Leon County or Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. If it's ironclad, as the ACC argues, FSU estimates that it risks losing up to $429 million in TV revenue. If FSU is correct, then the Seminoles could exit for free.
They're not. Let me tell you this right now. They're not exiting for free at all. Okay, so I'm gonna recap a little bit
Mm-hmm.
here, because this is the first kind of chink in the armor
Right.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Florida State wants out of their granted right.
Yes.
They want out of the ACC. They signed the granted rights, which means they're in the ACC till 2036. They cannot leave. And if they did leave, they would have to spend
Lots
like
of money.
$500 to $700 million
Yeah.
to break the contract. And it's just iron. It's just been ironclad. And many lawyers have went back and looked at it. And I'm going to tell you this: Florida State isn't the only one that wants out of the ACC. It's like you have that neighbor that's looking out the window, seeing what happens. If you don't get your head chopped off, everyone else is going to run.
Yeah.
So Miami, Clemson, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, maybe even Georgia Tech. There's a bunch of schools that are waiting to see if Florida State figures a way to get out of here. We're all running for the door.
Is there a reason why everybody wants out of the ACC?
Abso-freaking-lutely. Okay. They are locked into a contract in which they're only getting like 30 something million dollars a year from the television rights, which puts them in a disadvantage. They're trying to keep pace with the SEC and the Big Ten. If you're only getting 30 something million dollars and you're locked into 30 something million dollars until 2036, where the Big Ten is looking at getting right around $100 million per year per school, and the SEC is looking at about 70 something million dollars a year per team per year, could be with some other things closer to $80 million per year for the SEC. How long? And now it's no longer this like, hey, we just collect all this money for ourselves. Now, with name, image, and likeness, you got to kind of kick some of that money back to the kids as well. How long can the ACC keep pace with the Big Ten and the SEC? Not long, when you're talking about keeping facilities and all of that up to date. So, and then not to mention Florida State went undefeated and then didn't even make the college football playoffs. And they believe it's because they were in the ACC, where if they could break their granted rights and they can get out of the ACC and maybe go to the SEC or the Big Ten. Well, just look at my numbers I gave you. And my numbers are 100% right because I haven't read all the paperwork. But from everything I've been seeing, the Big Ten and we'll get about 100 million right now, about 90, but as the years go on, 100 million per school. The SEC is getting between 70 and 80 million per school. The reason why is, let's say they're able to do what they're saying here, which is buy their rights back. Let's say they pay the 150 million to break the contract, and they pay the 30 million a year to get out of this contract. So let's say they negotiated down so they pay $500 million, $500 million. Okay, that sounds crazy. They're going to pay $500 million to get out of this. But you look at the fact that the Big Ten is getting $100 million per year per school. You look at the time frame, and not only that, by the time the Big Ten contract goes up and then they get another contract, which is going to be even bigger, maybe 120, 140 million, $150 million per team. So you pay let's say 500 million to get out. It's kind of like what SMU is doing. They don't collect any money for 5 years, but on the back end, after that 5 years, they're getting 100 million plus per year. They'll make that money back, plus be in a bigger, stronger conference. I could definitely see the Florida State going to the SEC. I think it'd be a great fit for them. You would have the rival where you have the Florida State-Florida game every year. I think that would work really nice. And at that point, once those floodgates open, I say cancel Christmas on the ACC, because schools like Miami, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, those schools are going to run to either Big Ten or SEC. Would head to the SEC, but schools like Pitt and Syracuse, you could see them running to the Big 12. I don't really see a dance partner for Boston, a school like Boston College, but Pittsburgh and Syracuse, I could totally see them going to the Big 12. So there's a lot of money to be had. Mm-hmm. The problem is the ACC, they look bad right now. They look really bad and everyone wants out. But at the time that the SEC signed this contract with ESPN, it was kind of groundbreaking. Not only they're getting 30 something million a year, but they have it till 2036, meaning they don't have to go back and negotiate for years. Has to pay them this money. They thought they were kind of ahead of the game, but the game passed them up, meaning next thing you know, the SEC gets their contract, and the SEC is like, we're not going to take less than the ACC. No way. So they do their contract, and the Big Ten's like, hold my beer. Here you go. They're getting 100 million plus. And now ACC looks around and they're like, whoa, we're not even competitive with the two big conferences anymore.
Yeah.
It's Big Ten and SEC and everybody else. That's what kind of did in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 always looked at themselves on level with the Big Ten. And so they thought they were going to get a big contract, and they didn't get a contract at all, which made them fold. Same thing could happen. If they break this granted rights, I don't see how the ACC survives, because I could see the ACC collapsing because all their top brands are going to be running to greener pastures. And it's like an old rundown house. All the people run out of the neighborhood, and the only things left are the rats and the roaches, which are going to be the schools that nobody else wants. Yeah. Sorry, Boston College, you're one of the rats and roaches. Don't get mad at me. So it's a very interesting thing, but this is the first time someone was reading through the lawsuit that the ACC put this in there, meaning like, hey, if you want to go, there's a way. You could buy your rights back. And if they want to buy their rights back, then go for it. If that happens, though, maybe the ACC doesn't collapse. Here's the reason why. How many schools are going to be willing to part with $700 million, 500 to 700 million? Not that many schools can. So if that is negotiated, like I was watching a guy that was thinking, another show, and they were thinking that Florida State can get out for about 200 to 300 million. No, I think that's crazy, because it's a death sentence. Because all the schools that can go to the SEC and the Big Ten would be happy to pay 200 or 300 million to get out of SEC. But if they made it a $500 million, 500 million, sure, you may lose the Clemsons and the Florida States, maybe North Carolina or Virginia, but I don't see them all leaving like that. And so you could have a newer, a much weaker ACC school that can maybe merge with the Pac-12 or bring some other schools in and keep the ACC alive because of the buyout being so high. And think about, if these schools buy out for $500 million, what does that mean? Think about the money grab these schools that may not have the stronger football program, how much money they will inherit. Right. And so it makes it very interesting. This is the first time that I've heard anything that makes it so that you could break the granted rights, and a chance that Florida State and some of these schools could leave. But it's going to cost, you're going to have to write one hell of a check. And
So you really think Florida State can't get out of it without paying any money?
oh no, and unless like the big fight is right now, one is trying to get the the ACC is trying to get the court case to be heard, and I think it's one of the Carolinas or somewhere where the ACC headquarters is at. Florida has filed their lawsuit in Florida. First up, if that's held in Florida, zero shot that I mean not Florida. If it's held in the corporate office, right now it's Florida State. Go ahead.
I believe it's going to be held in North Carolina because that's where the ACC filed. The ACC filed first, so it should be held in North Carolina.
Ooh, that is a great point. Great point. Wait a minute. Are you sure they filed first?
I think that's what I read.
If that's the case, then it's a better chance it's going to be filed in Carolina. Okay.
The ACC filed its suit in North Carolina on December 21st, the day before FSU sued the conference in Leon County. So
okay, because Florida State wants it in Florida because they're more likely to find a more sympathetic ear in Florida. The ACC wants it in Carolina. If it's in Carolina, there's no way possible that Florida State or any school gets out of there without paying a check. I don't care. I don't even think if it's filed in Florida. I love that Florida State is going with kind of like, I forget, let's say nepotism or something along those lines, where it's like, hey, the old ACC commissioner was trying to set up contracts that benefited his son to get his son a job and wasn't negotiating in the best interest of the schools of the ACC. If a judge agrees with that, that's the only, and says, you know what, this contract was entered into on false pretenses from the beginning. That's the only way they break it. If they break it with no exit fee, it's gonna be over.
Yeah, it'll be over for the ACC, it looks like.
And that would mean, imagine if they could leave without paying a check, they would leave tomorrow. Not next season, not 2036. It would be U-Haul City. Everyone would be pulling up U-Hauls. Miami, Florida State, Duke, North Carolina. Everyone would have a U-Haul moving out of the ACC house, and it would collapse.
Yeah. It would be like Pac-12.
Yes, it would be just like the Pac-12, where at least the Pac-12 hung on a little bit. We'll be talking about that next. So, all right.
All right, guys. Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Pac-12, or I call it the Pac-2 now.
The Pac-2, that's what I call it. Yes.
Yep. All right. See you guys in a second.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier we were talking about whether Florida State could buy the TV rights for FSU football from the ACC, and now we're going to be talking about the Pac-12 conference and their commissioner mutually agreeing to part ways. But before we do that, I just wanted to remind you guys to like and follow the show. We get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. That link is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also just really helps the show. Alrighty. So, Pac-12
Yes.
Conference and Commissioner George
Kliavkoff. I got you covered.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner George Kliavkoff mutually agreed to part ways. With the Pac-12 conference set to shrink to 2 teams on August 2nd, the conference announced today, that might have been yesterday when this was released, announced yesterday that it and its Commissioner George Kliavkoff have mutually agreed to part ways effective February 29th of 2024. Kliavkoff's dismissal follows months of speculation and the failure to land a media deal that satisfied his member universities after USC and UCLA announced plans to lead the conference for the Big Ten in June of 2022. The LA school's sudden departure from the conference led Kliavkoff to begin the media right negotiations process earlier than expected, but due to strategic misfires and an inability to push back against the presidents and chancellors of the remaining Pac-12 schools, the conference ultimately collapsed, leaving Oregon State and Washington State as the lone remaining universities.
Okay, now I'm going to preface this as saying this is my opinion. Okay, this is my opinion. George Kliavkoff is the Grim Reaper of the Pac-12, and I think if you took all the Pac-12 members and you hooked them up to a lie detector test, and you said, who is the worst hire in the 100 years of the Pac-12, Pac-10, Pac-8, Pac-Man, it doesn't matter. Whatever you want. George Kliavkoff is the worst hire in Pac-12 history. 100 years, I'm saying the number one worst hire ever. I feel like he single-handedly destroyed the Conference of Champions. And that's what the Pac-12 was known as. Coming out, the Pac-12 fell apart in maybe one of their best years ever. Kliavkoff came in I think 2021, right? Yeah, I think it was 2020, 2021 when he came in.
2021.
The Big 12 was on the verge of collapse. Oklahoma and Texas, their bell cows of the Big 12, had announced that they are leaving the Big 12 and going to the SEC. The SEC was on verge of collapse. These schools flocked to the Pac-12, begged to be a part of the Pac-12. And I can't remember the old commissioner and Kliavkoff. They took a very...
Larry Scott was the...
Larry Scott, yeah. They took the approach that they didn't need these schools. They didn't want these schools. Wouldn't even listen. Some of the schools offered for a smaller share, everything, but they wanted a landing spot. You look at the schools of the Big 12. The Pac-12 could have acquired the Big 12, gained a larger footprint and a lot more influence into college football. This is right before their television contract is up. They could acquire the Big 12, then negotiated their contract, and they would have gotten a contract on that SEC level, that $50, $60, $70 million per school. But the Pac-12 and Kliavkoff and them were like, nope, we don't want them, don't need them. So the Big 12 circled the wagons. They went out and got some of the group of five schools, Cincinnati and Central Florida and Houston, and brought these schools in so that they could still have a strong conference. And then they did something incredibly smart. They knew the Pac-12 was coming up on their television contract, and then then the Big 12's contract was next. They jumped ahead and negotiated a contract with ESPN. They didn't come in cocky or anything. They negotiated a brand new contract, got their schools a new contract. The ESPN didn't want to spend any more money. Next thing you know, the Pac-12 doesn't have a television contract, doesn't have a television partner. CBS, Fox, ESPN, they're all out on the negotiations. And then George Kliavkoff is like, oh yeah, we have a great deal coming. We got a great deal. And these schools, the Pac-12 was trying to stay together. The Pac-12 tried to stay together all the way to the very end. Kliavkoff is still telling them, oh yeah, the contract's coming. The contract's coming. And it's going to be bigger. It's going to be bigger than the Pac-12.
Contract?
Yeah, the contract. You're talking about my contract's coming, but not you guys. And so week after week, month after month, 1 year passed, going into the next year, and there's still no contract. Next thing you know, they're talking about streaming. They're talking about being on some of the smaller cable networks, everything. In the end, there was no contract at all. So it got down to D-Day. And Colorado was the first one to be like, get me my hat and my coat. I am out. And they ran. And once they ran, it was like, no, actually the first two to run was actually USC and UCLA. Then Colorado left. Then the rest of the four corners, which was Arizona, Arizona State, Utah. Eventually, Oregon leaves Washington, and they get to the Big Ten. And it leaves the four schools trying to figure out that was Cal, Stanford, Washington State, and Oregon State. And these guys are like, what happened? Kliavkoff is what happened. They're sitting around. This guy kept promising contracts. These schools and universities tried to be very loyal to Kliavkoff and the Pac-12. In the end, those four schools were left with absolutely nothing. Cal and Stanford ended up negotiating to go all the way across country. The ACC is an East Coast conference, and you have two of the furthest west schools you can get begging and pleading to go to the ACC, a conference which is in trouble right now, but it was better than being stuck with Kliavkoff and what he negotiated. So Cal and Stanford goes there. They negotiate a smaller share, but they were desperate. Cal and Stanford are two of the greatest organizations, universities in the world, and they're begging to be a part of the ACC. All because Kliavkoff kept making promises, being arrogant and things. And in the end, possibly one of the strongest conferences in college football, one of the strongest academic conferences in the United States, a conference that's been around for 100 years, completely collapsed under his rule, under his arrogance, and under his poor judgment and lack of foresight. And you look around now, the Pac-12 is the Pac-2, and the division that was begging and pleading to join the Big 12. The Big 12, strong. They have new members. Matter of fact, they have so many members that they decided, no, we don't need Washington State and Oregon State. We're full. We're great. Because Kliavkoff allowed them to jump ahead, have some foresight, and now the Big 12 is in a very strong place. And the Pac-2 is what it's left with. And if you're sitting around that office and you're sitting there and you're like, we're the Conference of Champions, we're the academic conference, Big Ten and the Pac-12 are the two big academic powerhouses. And then you look around and in a very short time, Kliavkoff and some of his decisions have brought you down to only two schools, and they're on the verge that whole conference has collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is, he still negotiated a contract. The one contract that he negotiated that worked out well is his own contract, because they had to buy him out of his contract.
Of course.
Yeah, the only person that really came out of this thing kind of sort of unscathed, because they're giving him money to say, peace out, homie. You can leave.
Well, Teresa Gould is going to be the Pac-12's new commissioner after Kliavkoff departs. How do you feel about that?
Okay. I think, you know what? Teresa Gould, from everything I know about her, you can tell I don't sleep at all. She was in charge of the Olympic sports and for the Pac-12, which is the non-football, basketball type sports for the Pac-12. And they're bringing her on. She's a solid person. I don't see why they even need another commissioner. They need a contract lawyer. This is what they need. Teresa Gould, her only job is to negotiate a merger between the two schools that are left in the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. The Mountain West is a Group of Five conference, but it's a fairly strong Group of Five conference. It has Boise State, Nevada, and Hawaii, and schools like that. Bringing them on and making sure that the Pac-12 survives, bringing on the Mountain West schools, that merger as quick as possible. I am still shocked that it hasn't been done as of yet. Bringing them together while also Washington State's commissioner still negotiating with the college football playoff on keeping the Pac-12 with a automatic bid into the Pac-12, into the college football playoff. That's the only job that anyone has in the Pac-2. You notice I was doing this back and forth here. Pac-2. They have to keep a college football berth. They got to keep the ability to be recognized as a Power 5 conference, and they have to get that merger done. That's her only job.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you this, her job is not for long. If that merger happens, she will not survive being the commissioner of the Pac-12. She won't be even if the Pac-12 or Pac-DOS combines with the Mountain West, she won't be the commissioner of the new organization. The Pac-12, the Mountain West's commissioner would be the one that would be in charge of the new organization, which would be the merger of the Mountain West and the Pac-12. From everything I've heard, not to mention, they would be bringing over a lion's share of the schools. There's only two schools in the Pac-12, so that's kind of the way it goes there. But mainly, I feel like she's the traffic cop to bring on this merger, and also to keep the two schools in the college football playoff with a fair share, meaning like an automatic bid and a full share of the power of the college football playoffs would be what they need to negotiate. For you guys out there, that's crazy. They only have two schools. They're not getting an automatic bid. They're not getting a full share. Touche. What's good? For the contract for the college football playoffs, it has to be unanimous. And so right now, Washington State's chancellor is the Pac-12 vote. They have a vote in this. And if they didn't have a vote, this would already be over. The Pac-2, 12, whatever you want to call it, would be already out. and down to a Power 5 level. But because the college football playoffs the voting on this has to be unanimous, that's the one thing they can hold on to. That's what this meeting, I think this meeting is this week sometime between the Pac-12 and college football playoffs. I think that is. But I'm surprised. And now that this is done, she needs to move fast. Merge with the Mountain West. Merge with the Mountain West incredibly fast, unless there is an outside shot that those two schools could come and be a part of the Big 12. But they have to negotiate that incredibly fast before it's too late. They have the right to be considered a Power 5 school for the next 2 years, this season coming up and next year. It's already been decided in the college football playoff. In order to get an automatic bid, a Power 5 school must have at least 8 schools. So they're going to have to move incredibly fast, merge together, and hope that they don't get shuffled out. So that's everything in a nutshell there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you this from our last conversation in the last segment. The ACC and Florida State needs to pay very close attention to what happened with Kliavkoff and the Pac-12, because the whole saying, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Well, it is repeating right now. If they don't figure out a way to either keep Florida State by hook or by crook, whether you want to be here or not, you're staying, or make it so painful for Florida State to leave that you give them the ability to leave, but they got to pay almost $1 billion, which makes it impossible for these other schools to leave. Let Florida State go, but make it hard for everyone else, and then work hard to rebuild and strengthen the ACC. If not, if one of these judges rule, hey, Florida State's right, and you negotiated the television contract on false pretense, it's over. ACC will collapse. If they negotiate and they make it a small amount for the ACC to leave, the teams from the ACC to leave, they are going to collapse, because they're going to end up just like the Pac-12. It's going to be the ACC 2, because or 2 or 3 or whatever it'll be. It's the same playbook. I just think the ACC commissioner is just making smarter decisions, preemptive. Hey, Florida State's trying to get out. We're going to sue them first. That's a commissioner with foresight. Whether you agree with the lawsuit or not, they're being proactive, not reactive. Kliavkoff went with more of the arrogance and then the reactive thing. Nothing. We're the Pac-12. We don't need anyone. And then something happens. Someone hits you over the head with a hammer. Now you want to react to it, but you're all dazed. And dazed and confused, and that's the way. That's the definition, I feel, of George Kliavkoff's tenure as Pac-12 commissioner. A giant mistake, a mistake that everyone in the Pac-12 would love to redo. That's it.
Well, you
think I have an opinion on this one?
Yeah. Who knew football was so complicated? That's honestly, this blows my mind a little bit.
Since doing this show and learning all the stuff that's going on in college football, is it not mind-blowing?
It is. It's very mind-blowing.
Faith has been living in this Georgia Bulldog land where everything is bulldogs and roses. She did not realize, right? She didn't realize that that Rome was burning in the Pac-12 and the ACC.
I still live in the Georgia Bulldog Wonderland, but...
Oh, that is hilarious. I love it.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about an Oklahoma judge who resigned after sending more than 500 texts during a trial.
I want to hear what the texts are first. All right.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were talking about Pac-12 and their commissioner mutually agreeing to part ways. And now we're going to be talking about an Oklahoma judge who sent more than 500 texts during a trial, and she resigned for that.
She resigned. Okay.
She resigned. Yes.
He resigned or she resigned?
She.
Okay.
She.
Wow. I had it in my head already that it was a male judge. Okay, let's hear this.
Okay, an Oklahoma judge agreed to step down Friday after she was caught sending hundreds of texts from the bench while overseeing an unalive trial in the unaliving of a 2-year-old boy, including messages that mocked prosecutors and were sprinkled with emojis. District Judge Tracy Soderstrom also agreed to not seek judicial office again in Oklahoma under a proposed settlement agreement filed with the Oklahoma Court on the Judiciary. She had faced removal from the bench over accusations that included gross neglect of duty, oppression in office, lack of proper temperament, and failure to supervise her office. Soderstrom had been scheduled to go on trial in a special court starting Monday. She stated in her resignation letter, "I promise to uphold the Constitution in a fair, even-handed, and efficient manner. I believe that I have done so. However, being human, I have also faltered." Oklahoma Supreme Court Chief Justice John Kane IV recommended Soderstrom be removed following an investigation that found she mocked prosecutors, laughed at the bailiff's comment about a prosecutor's genitals, praised the defense attorney.
Sorry.
Praised the defense attorney and called the prosecutor's key witness a liar. Security video published by the Oklahoman showed Soderstrom texting or messaging for minutes at a time during the jury selection, opening statements, and testimony during the trial in Chandler, about 45 miles outside of Oklahoma City. Soderstrom, who took office last year, voluntarily suspended herself in October. The judge's text during the trial on charge of the unaliving of his girlfriend's 2-year-old son included saying the prosecutor was sweating through his coat, according to Kane's petition. The text described the defense attorney as awesome and asked, "Can I clap for her?" during the defense attorney's opening arguments. In all, Soderstrom sent more than 500 texts to her bailiff. She also texted a laughing emoji icon to the bailiff, who had made a cross and demeaning reference to the prosecuting attorney's genitals, Kane wrote.
Wait. Okay. I don't want to focus on my man's genitals right now. I got questions on this one.
Yeah.
I will go to his genitals in a second, but save the genitals for later. First off, this is a horrible, horrific trial as it is. Mm-hmm. So when you have a trial like this, mm-hmm. you expect the judge to take it incredibly serious.
Absolutely.
A child has lost their life.
Mm-hmm.
A judge should be. This is the definition of when a judge should bring their A game.
Yes.
This is when they should be focused on, figuring out what really happened. Not texting about someone's genitals. Yeah. Do you know what they were? What were texting about the genitals?
It didn't say in the news story that I read, but I can do some further research for you.
Okay. We don't need genital gate anyway. You can move on. But it sounded like, from what you were saying, she was kind of rooting for the defendant.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what it sounds like.
A judge is supposed to be impartial, down the middle, yes, undecided. Exactly. And she's texting, she's checking the dude out. She's ripping the prosecution. She has a built-in biasness that is going on just from those texts.
Yes.
When you look at what she's saying about the text, she's bashing. You can tell he's lying, this and that. Oh no, you throw this trial out. No matter what happens in this particular. Oh, wait. There's a unique smile there, Faith. What did you come up with?
It's just I'm looking at a story CNN did on it, and
all right, add to it. Add some more to this.
One of the texts from Soderstrom to the bailiffs cited in the petition read that the district attorney was sweating through his coat, and another, she commented, "Why does he have baby hands? They're so weird looking." The petition said, praising the defense attorney, the judge texted, "She's awesome. Can I clap for her?" She also texted the bailiff that a police officer who took the stand was pretty, adding, "I could look at him all day." She, in other messages, used an...
Judge Tender over here.
Called one video played to a witness boring, speculated whether one juror was wearing a wig, and opened the due to lack of DNA evidence against the defendant, there would be no way they get guilty on murder, according to the petition.
This judge is horrible.
Oh, yeah. And,
And you wonder why the appeal process is so important. When you have a judge like this, and there's so many times where there's people that have gone to jail because a judge has a built-in bias before it ever gets to the, you know what I mean? This is the definition of a built-in bias. A judge has to be impartial. She's checking out a police officer, trying to get the digits, calling them eye candy. There's no place for that.
No, especially with this type of
case. Yes.
Yeah.
This isn't.
She even if it was like, I don't know, like a boring case, like divorce case or whatever, like, you still need to be like paying attention. You paid all that money to go to law school and to do all this, to become a judge, to be able to decide, who goes to jail, who doesn't go to jail type of situation. You need to take each case very seriously. And if you don't want to do that, then don't become a judge. I don't.
And see, two things. One, the fact you can tell this woman is not paying attention. She's talking about the baby hands and all this stuff. The guys, and you understand what she's getting at when she talks about baby hands, right?
Yes.
She's talking small, So she's not focused at all in doing her job. Here's where I have a big problem with this story.
Yeah.
There needs to be some type of federal statute somewhere. And I feel like it should apply to judges, police officers, and teachers. This federal statute, I would love to happen, because there has been numerous cases where teachers have been found to have done wrongdoing.
Yes.
Judges have been found to be done wrongdoing. Police officers, wrongdoing. And the sentence is, you can no longer teach in this state. You can no longer be a judge in this state, or you have the ability no longer to be a police officer in this state. Well, these are three of the most important jobs in America. That's the fabric of what America is made from. Our teachers, our police officers, and our judges.
Yes.
And if you are found wrong and if you're found of wrongdoing in those three jobs, hey, there should be a statute. If you're found to have done wrong in this state, you cannot do this job in any state. If you're banned, if you're banned in Texas, you're banned in Ohio, California, Mississippi, and everywhere else.
I feel there should definitely be more repercussions than just being like, oh, you can't practice in Oklahoma anymore.
And it sounds like it was a negotiated one. That means she might have even gotten some money out of it as well. So she probably this is me speculating, got a severance and let go. Yeah. And if she can go to some other state and be a judge again.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right.
The one thing that kind of bothers me with this is her statement that she released. It kind of just seemed like she was just writing off the fact that she wasn't paying attention during
Do you have her statement? Let me hear her statement.
She was like, I promise to uphold the Constitution in a fair, even-handed, and efficient manner. I believe that I have done so. However, being human, I have also faltered. So she's blaming the fact that she's human and she makes mistakes to the fact that she wasn't paying attention to the trial and having a biased view on the case.
Your job does not allow you to be human. Your job requires you to be impartial.
You have to be as objective as possible in those kinds of jobs. As
humanly possible, absolutely. And if you're guilty of faltering in that job, you need to be removed from that job and never be allowed to hold a job like this again. If you're sitting there, you're talking about how good looking somebody is, baby hands and all of that stuff. No, I don't. Do you want this? Okay, if she can do this, if she's doing this on a kid who has tragically passed, think about this. You're fighting for it. You're in court. You didn't do anything wrong. You're innocent, and you're fighting for your life. And Judge Baby Hands show up here. Do you want her as your judge? Is she going to pay attention to your case enough to control a jury? How can she control a jury when she's not even paying attention? She's trying to. She's checking all. I can look at him all day.
Yeah.
She's swiping right on the cop over here. She's not paying attention. This is people's lives, and judges have people's lives in their palm of their hand. And so it's important that you stay, focused. And here's the thing. Hey, I'm losing focus here. I'm going to call for a recess.
Yeah.
If old cop over here is so I can look at him all day that you're getting all hot and bothered, guess what, sisters? Go take you a break. We're gonna adjourn until tomorrow. I'm gonna go home and take me 2.5 cold showers, and I'll be ready to go. But don't be texting and doing all that stuff.
Never in my life would I think that a judge would be in a courtroom texting on their phone or playing Candy Crush or whatever while a trial is going on. If anything, now I guess we have to treat you like, you're a kid in high school with their cell phone. You got to lock up your phone for the day until, the day's over with, and then you can have your phone back.
And I think a judge has to be held accountable. Yes. I think that, imagine how many other judges are doing this. If you seized a bunch of judges' phones, would you find that? Because here's the thing.
Well, I believe
if you were doing this, Faith, I'm Judge Tate, and I'm like, hey, I send you a message, Faith. Okay, another trial, send you a message. You don't get to the point where you're sending out 500 messages.
500. That's
right.
Insane. 500 text messages.
You don't get to the point that you're sending out 500 messages unless you've been texting during trials for an extended period of time that you feel comfortable doing this. So I would honestly say, if I had that judge, even if I was guilty as hell, I'm getting a lawyer and I'm calling for a mistrial. I want a new trial, or I want my charges thrown out, because she shows that she's not paying attention during trial. She has been busted of making 5%. That means she's been texting before. That shows a path of chronically texting during the trial and not paying attention. Anyone that has been charged should get a retrial or get their charges thrown out, which is unfortunate, because there are some guilty people that maybe should be in there. But the worry is maybe, hook 'em up judge over here is not paying attention, and maybe a couple people got put in jail wrongly. So no, my only issue with this whole case is that there's not a stiff enough sentence. Banned for life on ever being a judge, ever practicing law. You know, I'm not just being a judge. Oh, Sir Tex-a-Lot. No, she can't even be a lawyer anymore. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate thing to happen.
So,
when I was reading this, I was like, oh, no way. That's insane.
It's such a sensitive topic,
yes.
though. This is not the trial where it was the guy from Pirates of the Caribbean and
Johnny
his
Depp
wife.
and Amber Heard.
Yes. Okay.
I watched
But
okay,
if you found out that judge was like, oh, baby hands, and ooh, this person, it'd be like, you know what, this thing is crazy enough that this was a crazy trial anyway. This is nuts. You get a pass.
Yeah.
But not this topic over here.
No. Yeah.
You know, that's what I have to say on that one.
Yeah, I guess, if you're a judge watching our show, stay off your phone.
Wait a minute. Don't bring your phone. Leave your phone in chambers. You should not be bringing your phone at all.
All right, guys. Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into our oddities of the day. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing an Oklahoma judge who sent more than 500 texts during a trial, and now we're going to be diving into our oddities of the day. This one.
Uh-oh. I have no clue, everyone. So Faith is already laughing before I ever can, ever get to it. So let's see what's going on.
Okay. Caught at the border with pythons in his pants, New York City man fined and sentenced to probation. a New York City man who admitted to smuggling 3 Burmese pythons in his pants through a U.S.-Canadian border crossing was sentenced Wednesday to a year of probation and fined $5,000, federal prosecutors said.
Talk about packing heat.
Takes Sir Mix-a-Lot's song to a new level.
Okay. Keep on. I need more. I need more information here.
He crossed into the northern New York with the hidden snakes on a bus from Montreal to New York City on July. Oh, this is an older story. On July 15th, 2018, the young adult snakes were hidden in the inner thigh of his pants in snake bags tied to the pants drawstring. They discovered by U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers, according to documents in a release from the Office of the U.S. Attorney Carla B. Friedman. The Queens resident purchased the snakes, which were worth more than $2,500 at a reptile store in Canada, according to court documents. Importation of Burmese pythons is regulated by an international treaty and by U.S. federal regulations listing them as injurious to human beings. The Burmese python, one of the world's largest snake, is considered a vulnerable species in its native Asia and is invasive in Florida, where it threatens native animals. His attorney had no comment.
Okay, Faith. First off, you did not have to bring in Sir Mix-a-Lot, because the whole time you're reading, I'm like, my anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hun. You can do back bends and sit-ups.
Yeah.
Are you impressed that I could pull that off the top of my head there? Okay. What was this dude thinking?
Maybe he just
I'm
wants
gonna, like, where he's keeping them
in his pants. Yeah, that was.
And see, I'm picturing an anaconda kind of wrapping around certain things, staying warm for the winter, you know?
Well, he said it was in snake bags, so he had the snakes in bags, and then
okay, good, because I had it pictured. It was just him and
hanging loose with the snakes.
It's him and his friends. Okay, and then I'm like, okay, and if someone just so happens to look in that area and it's just moving, it's like, oh no. We're not going. No. Yeah. You know what I mean? You got snakes. You got snakes in your crotch, bro.
There's a snake in my boot.
It's not in his boot, though. It's in his boot scoop boogie. He got snakes in his crotch.
Yeah.
How do you like? I don't even know what to say on snaky crotch, guy.
I don't.
It's
yeah, I don't either. Honestly, I did. What were you thinking, man?
Wow, like
no
one's gonna notice. Like he had like 3. Did you say he had like 3 snakes in?
Yeah, 3. 3
How? You got 3 pythons in your pants. Is that a python in your pants, or are you happy to see me? Am I wrong? Is that out of line, Faith? I'm just asking. Is that out of line?
I mean, I reference Sir Mix-a-Lot, so.
I mean, like literally, I'm not being. This is not. I'm just not metaphorically speaking. He literally had pythons in his pants.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about this, honestly.
I got Hulk Hogan in my head, the 24-inch pythons, and everything else in my head here. Like, whoa. So okay. So let's.
I love talking about that trial, though. That trial.
Okay.
Anyway.
Faith and going off the beaten path here. All right. Please add whatever you want, Faith. You are welcome to. So he's just trying to sneak him. He's just trying to sneak him across from Canada into. Yes. So they were illegally brought in. Then is that what is?
Yes. they're vulnerable. It says they're a vulnerable species. So
invasive? Or you say invasive species?
They're invasive in Florida, but in Asia, they're a vulnerable species.
Okay, so they're kind of like, they're not endangered, but they're on the borderline there.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and so the guy's trying to make a a profit off of bringing in endangered animals.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
apparently just like the lady doing all the text, I don't think you necessarily stick snakes in your pans unless you've done it before and it worked out before. Do you start off with one snake
and then just work your way?
And then next thing you know, you have like Medusa crotch going.
Medusa crotch.
Do you get a shot for that? Is that an ointment? You have Medusa crotch, and you gotta get a shot for it or something.
Does he get like a Boy Scouts patch for like I smuggled 10 snakes in from Canada, you know?
Yeah, smuggle in 10, get one free. I don't, and I'm sure once you get across the lines, it's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get this together. Okay, you're going across the line and you have bags of snakes in your pants. Mm-hmm. So, and you know what, maybe I got to step back, and maybe dirty-minded Tate is thinking it's in his crotch. Maybe it wasn't in his crotch. Where else could you keep them in your pants?
I guess just wear like baggy windbreakers or something and tie them on your leg.
Or maybe they're like really tiny baby ones. That's what maybe I'm thinking.
But pythons are
maybe
really
had some cargo. Yes, maybe had some cargo pants and they were all zipped up all nice.
They're literally, Burmese pythons are one of the largest snakes in the world. So if they are full grown, I don't know how this guy's smuggling.
Oh no. You're not sneaking 3 full-grown, medium-grown, small-grown Burmese pythons in your pants. Just the fact that I have said Burmese pythons in your pants.
Not a sentence you think you'd say.
But so my guess is these had to be recently hatched baby snakes.
Probably.
I'm picturing that this guy must have had like some type of cargo pants or something like that he had them all zipped up in there. But still, those pants are moving around and everything. Snakes like to move. The person that caught them, of course, like, sir, you need to get yourself under control. Excuse me, sir. What's in your pants? Why they? Now I got Full Metal Jacket in my head. You have no clue what I'm talking about here about this.
No.
There was something about a snake from Alabama, let's just say, and just leave it at that.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the only thing I can think of that he's smuggling them in. It's kind of crazy in general when you start thinking about changing the subject just slightly to Florida. And they have pythons and
Florida is its own
boa constrictors, syphilis monkeys. I didn't even know about the whole syphilis monkey outbreak that's going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy. And Faith, it is coming to a theater near you. Believe it or not. Here's the reason why. I was watching a thing, and some of these animals are moving further and further north. Mm-hmm. Well, what's the next neighbor to Florida? Georgia.
You telling me monkeys are going to end up in Georgia?
Listen, I got no evidence on this. I'm just saying all these animals, these crazy animals, the only closest area that has a climate close to Florida is Georgia. Only state that shares a border with Florida. They're not in a cage. Eventually, they're going to move north, and probably the furthest north they can get is Georgia.
Well, maybe they'll stay in South Georgia. I live in North Georgia.
And that's my theory. It's just kind of crazy how all these crazy animals are are being smuggled into America.
Yeah.
People are doing it. The risk is not out is less than the reward. Meaning, he smuggles in 3 snakes. He has to get paid a decent amount.
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
And like when you start like the tigers, the craziest thing of all. Changing the subject again slightly. Where is the largest population of tigers in the world?
I would say Asia, right?
So India, somewhere like that?
Yeah, I think so.
It's Texas.
Oh, is that because of what's his name? No, he lived in Florida.
No.
He lived in Florida, so never mind.
But there's more tigers in Texas than there are. Look this up real quick and say largest population of tigers in the world and see what comes up. It's going to be Texas. There are more more tigers in captivity than there are tigers in the wild. Are you looking?
It says India.
That's wild. Type in do the search. Captivity wild anywhere. The largest population is in Texas. The United States has more tigers than there are in the wild. As Faith's looking this up. Got to make me look good, Faith.
Oh, it says most tigers in the world live in captivity in the United States. It doesn't say Texas.
Yes. Yeah, but it is Texas. And that is crazy. Because we are allowing so many animals to be smuggled in, and it has to get, the penalty has to be more.
Yeah, he didn't get arrested though. That's what I was shocked about. They only fined him, and he's on a year of probation. He didn't go to jail.
What?
Yeah.
How is that possible? You don't get arrested for that?
I don't know, maybe it was his first offense. He knew somebody. I don't know.
He knew somebody. Maybe during his trial, someone was texting and got a little confused.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. I just sent you a link, Faith, and I just grabbed something kind of quick. But yes, it's crazy that there are so many tigers in the United States. Here's the one I was looking for here. It shouldn't.
Well,
second, and here. This is a little bit better one. What I'm doing, everyone, is I'm sending Faith links showing. Do the last one and read the title.
Texas has large population. Oh, pet tigers across the state.
What? No, but it's still the most tigers in the world. When you take all the tigers in the world, majority of tigers are in Texas.
That's crazy.
Granted, they're not wild tigers.
No.
That would be a big problem in Texas. You would definitely have a big problem.
Yeah.
But in America, you can smuggle these things in and make a huge profit. You have to make the penalty a lot tougher. You can't get caught smuggling in endangered species and you only get probation.
Yeah, and fined. He was fined $5,000.
He was going to make more than that off of his next batch of when he goes for 4 tigers in his pants. Not 4 tigers. No, not tigers in the pants. That's a whole different conversation. You got a tiger in your pants.
That sounds like a Dr. Seuss book. 4 tigers in my pants. That's hilarious. Like walking in my pocket.
Oh man, if you got 4 tigers in your pants, that is an issue. That's honestly, next level.
I'd say I was pretty impressed if you could fit 4 tigers in your pants. But guys, with that, we're gonna close out the show. Thank you for
Faith
tuning
was like, deuces, we're out. We're out.
We gotta go. Thank you for tuning in to the Andrew Tate Show, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to